This is your Real Agriculture Update brought to you by the Mind Your Farm Business podcast. Stay on top of farm management issues year-round at mindyourfarmbusiness.com. Hi, I'm Sean Haney of RealAgriculture.com. Recently, beef producers have expressed a lot of concern on the separation between the price that they are paid for their cattle versus the box beef price during COVID-19. Recently, I talked to Dr. Jayson Lusk of Purdue University to get an explanation for this separation.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly straightforward economic explanation. Maybe before I get into the explanation, though, let me say that I don't think there's any doubt that livestock producers are worse off. So I think that's one of the frustrating parts of all this is there's a lot of economic harm at the moment among livestock producers. So regardless of whatever my economic explanation is, it's not going to feel good, either way. But why does this happen? I mean, I think it's a textbook example case of what happens if there's a disruption in the processing sector. So processors, because their workers aren't showing up, they have COVID-19 cases. So, many plants have had to shut down. What happens to the basic economics? Well, they can't buy as many animals. They can't run as many animals through the plant. So their demand for livestock falls. At the same time, they're not producing as much meat. So their supply of meat to the wholesale and retail market has fallen. Less meat on the market means there's less available for consumers and grocery stores to have. So they're competing against each other as consumers were bidding up that price of wholesale meat.
Now, end of January, box beef is like $213, $210. Last week, were we like $460? I think. I don't know where we are this week. But we're kind of going to find out here what the price elasticity of demand is for beef, are we not?
We sure are. Actually, I did a little back of the envelope calculation yesterday. If we reduce processing capacity by like 40%, we've made some improvements since then. But as of last week, and you look at the changes in prices, I think it gives you a demand elasticity of something like minus 0.5, minus 0.4 or 5. Yeah, so it's still pretty inelastic, but we're pushing on it, and we're going to see how high it goes. But it's pretty remarkable to see what's happened to that wholesale price.
Yeah, and all this in the face of a time where people are trying to make comparisons to an economic situation that's comparable to like the Great Depression, and that doesn't sound, even if that's true, that doesn't sound very conducive to strong meat demand, especially for beef, because it is the most expensive protein.
Yeah, and it's a good point you raise. And in fact, if you look at we focus on that aggregate, say, box beef number, but if you actually focus on different cuts, you see very different price movements across those cuts. And the ones that have experienced the biggest gains are the rounds, the chucks, those things that we can buy a little more affordably, convert into ground that's, a little more easily, seems like more consumers know what to do with that at home. So it is important to recognize there are some of those key differences in there. But, I think it's surprising too. I put together some data on these demand indices, trying to separate out what's happening from supply versus demand, because my sense had been that overall demand had probably shrunk because of the shutdown or the really strong slowdown of food away from home sales, and that was true on the pork side, that aggregate demand has fallen over the last couple of months. But on the beef side, it actually looked like there was some demand improvement, which is surprising because incomes are being hit and people are out of work, but for whatever reason, they're wanting beef right now.
Right now, we're covering extensively this rise in box beef prices. But I have to think as we get to a situation where more packers are coming back online, and like you said, that trend is now beginning. Mm-hmm. What goes up must come down. I'm really wondering if we don't see a very, very sharp snapback of that box beef price, just like we saw it shot up. I can see it shooting down. What do you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree, Sean. In fact, even before this latest run up, so we had that kind of spell in mid to late March when we shut down restaurants. There's a big run on grocery store sales. And then we kind of got it. It was a big rise actually in box beef prices then. And then there was a big fall off right after that. Now we've moved in this April period where there's this huge run up in box beef prices. And, it all depends on how much processing capacity I think we bring back online. And it's not impossible to imagine, particularly given those recessionary concerns we already mentioned, that we might not have a significant drop off here in the near future.
This has been your Real Agriculture Update. You can find out more about this issue or many others at realagriculture.com.